Hello, everyone. I'm Rick Zanotti, and welcome to Lectora Live, your inside track into Lectora. Today, we've got a real special guest. Here we go. And here we are. Today, we've got with us Laura Silver. She is the Director of Product Management at Trivantis. Hi, Laura. How are you?
I'm great. Hi, Rick. Thanks so much for having me on today.
Well, thanks for coming on. You're one of those unsung heroes of Lectora that nobody really knows you're there, but you play a very important and significant part in the product management and really what we see as users. And before we get into what you do, because you have a previous career that we actually are going to talk about in a minute, how did you wind up at Lectora?
Well, I've always worked for tech companies, small, medium-sized businesses, and I was living in Florida and found Trivantis, and it was just an immediate fit. I remember interviewing with John Blackman many, many years ago, and I started out on the QA or quality assurance team testing the product, which is what I suspect you'll be asking me about soon. And I then moved into product management. So rather than kind of being on the back end of product development where I was breaking the product and finding issues, I really wanted to be on the front end, creating improvements and improving the user experience and being part of what's next for our products and kind of setting the vision and strategy for that.
Well, you've done a very good job. Now, before you actually got into product management, if I'm not wrong, you were in charge of quality control, QA.
I was one of the first official testers of Lectora, and I spent a lot of time sitting around banging on it and getting it to crash and finding issues and making sure it was bug-free as possible before it was ever released. So QA is where I got my start.
Well, this is great. Now, I have to say something, and this is something we don't say that often. So what I'm going to now represent the whole collective Lectora community. They don't know I'm doing this, but we're taking some liberty here. And I want to thank you because Lectora is probably one of the few tools that actually is really fairly bug-free. I mean, every tool has some minor bugs, but you guys are really clean. And having been in charge of that area at one point, you have done a great job. And it's something that we just don't encounter a heck of a lot in the e-learning world. So thank you for that. You've done a very good job, and I'm sure the community does appreciate it.
Well, I'll accept your thanks, but I'll hand all of the credit over to Bruce Parker and the current QA team, who really does a heck of a job testing the product and making sure it's as bug-free as possible. It's a really interesting challenge testing a development tool because it's completely open-ended.
Right.
It's not an input-output. You can do absolutely anything with our products, which certainly makes for quite the testing challenge. So I'll pass on all the credit over to Bruce.
Yeah, well, good. Well, kudos to them, too, because you guys have always done a good job with testing since we've been involved with Lectora almost 10 years. And honestly, I'd say we've probably made 10 support calls throughout the 10 years, not a heck of a lot. And most of them had to do with LMSs. Didn't really have much to do with the two. How do we do this? No, it was more like, how do we get this to work with that LMS? Right. And they've always come through. Every time we've had an LMS question, they'll either send us a snippet of code to fix something for that particular LMS. Usually it's older versions of LMSs, or they'll just say, oh, you know what? Flick that thing on. And all of a sudden everything works. So that's been really good. Now when you got into quality control, how did you wind up? Well, how did you learn how to do quality control? I guess, your background in terms of software development and things like that. What made you good at this?
It's a great question. Well, I studied, information systems in college and came through with a background of business and technology and moved into software consulting where, they start you out as a tester and really bring you up through the ranks in there and teach you all the methodologies of testing. And my colleagues will tell you I'm a highly organized person and really like to make sure I'm thorough and cover everything. And I just loved learning how to use this product. And so I would really spend as much time as I could exploring every option and property and what's it going to do if I do this. And really trying to figure out and uncover issues has always really been interesting to me. So, presented with, well, the product's doing this and we don't know why. And so trying to figure out exactly what it is and narrowing it down to that particular scenario where you get that aha moment. I know what's going on and I can now report it off to development and fix it and hopefully help our users. So it's a really rewarding career.
It's kind of funny. It's kind of putting on the detective hat and saying, okay, now what are we going to do here?
Yes, exactly.
And you got to have curiosity because you're
Yeah.
you're dealing with things that don't always work the way you want. You go, okay, now why is this not working? And and especially in software development, you've got a lot of options. A lot, like you said, it's wide open. You can run into a million different possibilities, and it's hard to figure out each one. So that's pretty good. Now, at one point, you switched. You got into the product management side of things, which is a
I
whole
did.
different world.
It is. It is a completely different world, but I absolutely love it, and I love working in product management for Trivantis and for Lectora and CourseMill. Really, what product management is all about is being the voice of the customer, being the voice of our user in everything we do, from development through the launches of our product, through sales and marketing, and really making sure that with everything we do and everything we put into our products, that we're representing exactly what our users' wants and needs are. And certainly that's not an easy thing to do, but I'm proud that I do get to do it.
That's good. Now, in your role as a product manager, and I've met many product managers throughout the years in different companies, not only e-learning, but just software companies on the whole, it's a fine line you walk because you've got to talk to your internal staff who kind of go, oh, what does he want us to do now? And then you've got to talk to the users who always want something more. How,
Sure.
how do you walk that line? What do you find the most challenging, and what do you find the most fun about walking that line?
It's a great question. Well, I think the most challenging thing is really wanting to provide our users as quickly as possible with all the things that they want. And we're lucky that we have such an active, loyal, and passionate community of users, and we get to talk to them and engage with them one on one. We have our advisory board of users that we meet with. We have our user conference where we literally put ourselves up on the stage and say, okay, give it to us. What is it that we're doing wrong? Where can we improve? And we're always listening and trying to improve. The hard part, the lines to balance, is prioritizing all of that, and especially up against new technologies and exciting new things, whether it's responsive design or Zappy Experience API, making sure that we're ahead of the curve in our technology, but also catching up to all of the things that our users want. So that's really where the line, where that I'm trying to walk is. And then, of course, working with development on what's feasible, what's in scope, what we can get out as quickly as possible with the best quality as possible, with also the best user experience. So there's a lot of lines and a lot of conversations and debates, but it's all about doing what's best by our users. So that's to me what the best part is.
Now, you mentioned the community, and I believe about a couple of weeks ago, Trivantis and the new Lectora community, the new Trivantis community, I guess, support community. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we just recently, a couple of weeks ago, launched our new community site. Before, we had a really active forum. It was a little bit outdated, and we really wanted to provide a better place for users of all of our products to meet and connect with each other and connect with us, and really create more of a two-way conversation between our users and the Trivantis folks. We also listened to our users and heard that they wanted a better place to share the content that they've developed, to show off whether it's something really cool that they've done, that they've built in our products, or a solution to something. Because as we know, Lectora is really extensible. You can take what's out of the box, or you can build and customize your own really unique solutions to problems that we may not even have thought of. So we wanted to provide the community as a place for people to actually share their work, and any and all members of the community can share their work. You don't have to be a special community manager. You don't have to have received a certain level of certification. As long as you sign up to be a member of the community, you can upload any content that you want. And then we are in-house also developing some really great samples of work, so that you can go and say, oh, hey, that's really cool. I want to use that in my course. And you can go ahead and download it and reuse it as many times as you want. There's no rights to it attached at all. And then the third piece was just a knowledge base. We wanted to make a more comprehensive, centralized place for all of our users to go to find answers to the questions that they're looking for, whether it's through a webinar or an article, and it relates to, how do I do this, or an issue that you may be having that support can help out with. So just sort of the first line of support for our users. So we just launched it. We're really excited about it, and I encourage everyone who may be listening now to go ahead and sign up and take a look and take a look around.
Sounds good. And we've been doing the show now. I think this is our fourth or fifth. It goes so fast after a while. I think this is our fourth show. And we're going to open the show up to other people too. We've had, I think, 3 people from Trivantis, and we're going to have now one from, we had Sergey on. He's with Branch Track. And then next week we've got, Oh, Colin Steed from the UK, who runs kind of an equivalent to ASTD here. It's the
Okay.
Learning and Performance Institute, and he's going to be coming on talking about trends in the industry and all sorts of fun stuff. So, we're opening the show up to a little bit more community as well, and I think that's going to be a lot of fun. We've got people from the advisory board lined up, as well as just some high level users who've been using Lectora for a while. So we've got some interesting content coming up. Not to mention a whole mess of tips and tutorials that we're in the process of developing, and hopefully we'll have about 4 or 5 of them up next week. So you'll be seeing those too.
That's great.
And
Yeah, Rick, we're so excited about what you're doing here, between giving our users a stage to talk about some of the things that they're doing in our products and use cases and best practices, and kind of showing off really unique solutions and unique courses to these tutorials. And those will go out in our knowledge base, and just be a great place for users to quickly find, the how-tos that they need to get started and get up and running really quickly. So all really good things. And, and again, these are just ways for us to better hear our users and listen to, what are their problems and how can we provide better solutions.
Yep, and it's a lot of fun. You guys are very receptive now. Things are changing in Lectora. I noticed definitely a much stronger energy at Lectora, let's say, or Trivantis throughout the last, I'd say, a couple of years. It's really been growing, and that's fun. That's a lot of fun because you guys have been kind of quiet for a long time, and it's nice to see you guys getting out there and just really doing fun. So even at the shows, just a lot more fun. The presence is very lively and fun, and you got some great people. So that's a lot of fun. And you're usually at the shows, aren't you?
I am, yeah. We've rotated around. I try to go to as many shows as possible. We were at Learning Solutions, and it was really great getting to be across the hall from the e-learning brothers. And we're really proud of our partnership there and our integration that we just recently released with Lectora and Inspire with the e-learning brothers templates. And they've just got such a great energy, and that was just so nice to be just right across the hall and kind of feed off of that excitement and kind of their energy as well.
It was so funny. We were at the show at the Learning Solutions, just kind of hanging around, and we were at the e-learning brothers show, and we signed up for their content library. This is right before we got the Inspire upgrades. We went, oh darn, it's already here. Oh well. But it was really funny because my wife Leslie was with us, and she was paying for it, and they go, okay, now we're going to scream. She goes, don't scream. No, jump like bunnies. And they all started jumping like bunnies.
So
I went, boy, they're easy, aren't they? But
Yeah.
no, that's a really good library too. The stuff that they've done with that, and it's a lot of fun how easily it integrates into Lectora. I know you guys have done some podcasts on it. We're going to do some talking about that. It's really a simple tool, and the fact that you get to modify everything afterwards makes it even nicer. Now you have total control of the content.
Yeah, it's really exciting what we've done, and kind of unique, the ability to take something that normally you'd have to go to the web and, search through their libraries, and then download it and then try to integrate it into the product. Now you just slide out the media library, select what you want, and it's in the product right away, and you can modify it, because what the e-learning brothers has done is provide all of the templates and everything as library objects and Lectora objects. So you choose a page, and all of a sudden you don't just have a page that you can't really modify. You have the images, and you have the text and the questions and the actions that you can truly make your own. So it's really great, because with the e-learning brothers templates and their interaction builder and their cutout people library, you can start with Lectora on day one and have fully built, sophisticated, professional content with really just a couple of clicks. And that's pretty neat and pretty exciting.
And one of the things too is sometimes people ask, well, what? Hold on, shot's not switching. Sorry about that. For some odd reason, my shot's not switching.
That's all right.
There we. Things gone crazy here. There we go. Sorry about
There you
that.
are.
My controller went on vacation for a moment. They do that. It's a Logitech. I don't know. One of the things, a lot of people have asked me, should we upgrade to the new Inspire? And it's funny because we had Inspire licenses, but didn't use a lot of the other Inspire products. We already had them. We had Camtasia, we had Snagit. And so we actually deprecated our licenses back to desktop, and then we went, wait a minute. Oh, man, now they came out with this, and if you think you're doing it to save money, you're not. Think of how much time it takes you to import assets one by one by one by one. And if let's say you have the e-learning brothers library outside of, so now it's just a little more work just to get it in. You can, but boy, you're spending a lot more time. And by having Inspire, it's all integrated right into it, and we can see the benefit of that immediately. So we're probably going to be upgrading our licenses all back to Inspire again soon, because it does make life easier.
It really does. Yeah. Not only that, but you're just getting a ton of value with Lectora Inspire. Camtasia and Snagit are best in breed tools, and the fact that we provide round trip editing is just yet another convenience. So when you factor in the fact that you're getting Camtasia, you're getting Snagit, you're getting an ever-growing library with the eLearning Brothers, and everything is integrated really well into the product. So it feels like a seamless experience. You really can't beat that kind of value.
No, it actually, and you can. And if you don't use Camtasia or Snagit, what do you use? They're great tools. Snagit is one of the best tools on earth. It's just a simple, nice, great tool. And
I
Camtasia,
use it every single day.
I know, it's just good. I always let people go, well, we don't do e-learning. You don't need it for e-learning. It's for everything. It's just a very, very good tool in the terms of what it does and everything else. So what do you see in the future of e-learning? You guys are involved on kind of the cusp of what's going on. What do you see as coming up in the future? Aside from responsive, we know that's imminent.
Yes.
Where do you see trends going?
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, responsive course design is on our roadmap, and we're really excited to release that for Lectora Online as well as Lectora, and we'll be announcing beta programs for that really, really soon. But I think when I take out my crystal ball and you look even further into the future, there's a couple of trends that I see, and one of them would be just the move to the cloud. I think e-learning development follows pretty closely behind just web development and technology trends in general, and we're seeing the move to the cloud happening, and I think we're going to be seeing it happen with e-learning as well. And so the good news is we have Lectora Online, and it has a fully featured authoring tool on the web and all of the benefits that you get with being a web-based tool, from collaboration and backup and storage and versioning. And you're not going to find a tool like that on the web that's just that full feature that takes the full piece of authoring and put it, in a web-based tool. And so I think that's something that we're really interested to see, kind of what the future brings with cloud-based applications in terms of e-learning. I think another trend that we're really seeing start to pick up its paces is informal learning, and it's going to be really interesting to me to see how organizations start to capture that and how the industry really tackles informal learning. And I think that the Experience API or Tin Can API is going to have a huge part in that. So we're making sure that we're staying on top of the specs and supporting the XAPI publish. But I think that's going to be really key to capturing informal learning and kind of staying on top of all the pieces that happen outside your actual course and what your users are really doing to stay on top of all the learning that needs to take place.
No, that's good. And it's interesting because you are truly one of the few tools that is 100% web-based and 100% desktop-based. You have really both. And I notice as you've been progressing with both, they're almost exactly the same. There's not much lagging between the two. And that's because it also runs multi-platform. You run on a Mac and Windows that way.
Exactly.
Or
Absolutely.
Linux if you want. If you want Linux, it'll run on Linux, frankly.
As long as you have a modern browser, you're really good to go. And I think what's really nice is you're not having to deal so much with installation issues or kind of getting around your security. You just log in, you have your organization, your content's ready to go. It's much easier to share with other members of your team, or especially considering, how much we unfortunately take our work home with us. So you're at the office, you come home on the weekend, you think, oh, I know how to do that, or I know exactly what I want to do on that page. You just load up your browser, you log in, you don't have to worry about transferring your files back and forth. So there's just a lot of conveniences and benefits that come to being a cloud-based tool.
I'm curious, what would you say, I'm not going to ask you for sales breakdowns, but how popular is the online version versus the desktop? Are you finding that it's growing more incrementally?
Sure. Well, I think there's always going to be a place for a desktop tool, and the majority of our users are desktop users, but we're certainly seeing that the online space is growing and that there's renewed and growing interest in Lectora Online, and I think that trend will really continue.
That's great. Well, Laura, we are almost at the end of our time. I know you had to rush today, and we've got another show coming up in about 10 minutes, but I really appreciate you coming on. I think there's just a lot of fun stuff's going to be happening in the future, and you're that, like I said, you're that quiet person in the background that we just owe a lot to. So you're the unsung heroes. And you do a great job. So we really appreciate that, and I'm sure the community does too. If people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best place to find me is on our Trivantis community site. You can follow me, you can friend me, and if you have any suggestions or feedback, certainly use our forum. We're listening. If you have a suggestion, use that vote, use that like to let us know exactly what you're thinking, and you can find me on the community and connect with me there. So Rick, thank you so much for having me on and for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, same here. We really appreciate you coming on. And next week, again, we have Colin Steed showing up on the show and a lot of good stuff coming up. So we appreciate you being here. If you're watching the recording, there's a like it button actually right under us. Click on that. Please click on that. I mean, just do yourself a favor. Do us a favor. Click on that and also subscribe. The more you subscribe, the more we know you're out there, and then you'll know when the shows come up. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks a lot, Laura.
Thanks, Rick.
Bye-bye.